Right now it's the Carver that we talked about.
This is Stephen Montemat. He's one of a handful of master carpet carvers in the nation. And what you're looking at is some of his work. It's hard to believe it's carpet. So join us as Stephen shows us how he creates art with his cut pile canvas. Welcome to Expressions. Welcome back. We're at Jim and Mary's carpet installation, and our guest today is Stephen Montemat. Stephen, nice to have you on the program.
Very nice to meet you.
And you are a master carver, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what is a master carver?
This master carver title came from me servicing an apprenticeship with another master carver. He took me under his wing, and I developed a tremendous amount of questions from trying to do the art on my own without supervision or discipline or anything like that. And it sort of opened you up into like a secret society. You're showing all these little tricks that art really works on. Art is not any type of mysticism. It's something that grew out of mathematics and just finding ways to create images in different surfaces like wood, stone, carpeting.
And you started out as an engineer, right?
Yes, I
Not
did.
as an artist.
One of the things with the engineering community now that it is I noticed this when I was in college, and I finished my degree in electronic engineering, and it doesn't matter how well that you did in school. You can make straight A's and all that. You just be one of many engineers out there, and there was no way in that career that I could make a mark and stand out in any way. Right. So if you're creative, they basically will snuff that out. Because the engineering community deals on soft engineering, which is you're in a little office, a little small cubicle, and you design just one little widget, and you never get to see it made. And that's one of the things that I tremendously missed. I love thinking an idea up, bringing that idea into reality such that it exists.
Well, I tell you what, I want to take a look at some of your ideas.
Okay.
And how you get all this going, because I want the viewers to see we're not talking about carpet installation. We're talking about something more here. So let's get started on this.
Okay, carpet is just like wood. The same principles work. When you deal with carving, there are only 3 basic cuts that generate any design, but how you combine those 3 cuts is what makes it an art form. The very basic cut is a V cut, which it's a V-shaped cut that's angled just like this. It's a straight V. And the little trick of it is it's not the amount of material that you removed, it's the tiny little shadow that falls at the bottom of the carving. And this is true for wood or stone or whatever. It gives the illusion of relief. Embossing is a sneaky little trick where you preserve one side of the V but put like a lazy L on the other side so that this slopes down. This is a little optical illusion that will create a layering technique. Like if you deal with flowers or whatever and it looks like one petal is behind another petal is behind another petal, this one right here will accomplish that. And there's a third technique. This is bas relief. This is where you actually don't cut the design. If this was the design, you cut all the material away from the design. And this is when you start to move in 3 dimensions. This raises this up and gives it a strong sense of relief.
Well, Stephen, this is wallpaper. Is this where you get some of your ideas, is from stuff like this?
Basically, I do this for a living, which is the most important thing is to have a source of income in this. And so what happens is interior decorators or just any everyday folk will want to commission me as an artist to specifically work in their home and provide a service. So one of the things that we do in order to do this is we will tie a rug or a carpeting into the decor that's in the house. Wallpaper is a real good source of ideas. China plates, fabric, anything of that nature can give us a source of material. So what we did is this is the border wallpaper that's at the very top of the ceiling. It ties in with the curtains as well.
Okay.
This is a line drawing. This is gives me a moment of control where I can do some creative interpretation of the design. It allows the customer to see the design, make changes before it's ever been executed. So that gives them a lot.
Which is what you like.
Right. Right. We don't want to do something and then have a mistake or misinterpretation of what the customer's wishes were. There is a trick to transferring this to carpet. It's an art technique that's been around for thousands of years. It's called a punch pattern. You literally take a pointed object like an awl or an ice pick, and you just make little holes right around where the lines are. Then all you have to do is take the template, set it on whatever surface you're dealing with. The trick is what you use as the transfer medium. What I use on carpet is chalk. And chalk is something that will float on the top of the carpet, will not change the color of the carpet or anything, and when you carve, it vacuums out and disappears. Yeah. I've actually chalked a design here that you can see the evolution of a design.
I like this.
This is an Egyptian hawk. He has a little leather hood on. This little archway here uses V-cut, which is this little technique here. It's a V either side. This is bas relief. We didn't cut this design. We cut this right here down so it raises a bi-level and it makes a real sharp contrast here. And then we used an embossing technique in order to raise the Egyptian hawk out, whereas we did the little flat side this way, and then we did the lazy L around him like this. Embossing works better within flowers where you can do layering like this. With the Egyptian hawk, we restricted it just to doing it as a perimeter, so it looked like where they would have signet rings and things like that and press it in wax, and it would force the wax up. So that was trying to emulate this. Right. This was just as a test design to see how and what we could do. Of course, this is 10 years old, so we've gone beyond that in a lot in major ways. This is probably the hardest of all the designs I've done. This is a paisley print, which it had its origins in the ballast that's above this. This is the curtains. And we were looking at, there's like fruit and there's little squiggles and all this. Right. And we were trying to, find a way to interpret what we were going to do for the customer. The pattern is so busy that if you introduce color into it, it dies. It starts to fight itself. So it needs to stand on its own as a whole series of shapes and all that. So what we did is we went through and we had actually a larger piece of the fabric, and we sampled it on the diagonal, which is a neat little technique. Instead of trying to take it this way, patterns can actually be found if you can't find them in a linear square fashion. Turn on the diagonal and sample it. And we picked up these little kind of curlicue squiggles and all and developed them as our principal artwork. And the pattern actually repeats a couple, 3 feet like this. The real problem with this one is this is incredibly complicated when you go in and have to carve this and this and this and this. I estimated when I was doing this that there was literally 1 million hand movements per 3-foot section. We generated a prototype of our design. This is one that's got a lot of intermix of different things. We did some embossing and so forth to pull up the designs. This here as a medium grade carpet didn't give incredibly good resolution like we were wanting. They were wanting it to emulate wood, where you had straight line, and no texturing. Very clean. Right. But ultimately, we did do the rug, and it was extremely nicely and well received. Once you start seeing a large section of this, it really forms a rhythm, and it looks incredibly complicated. But once again, if you just look at it and choose little points, there's a curlicue, there's a curlicue, there's a curlicue, there's one. It's actually simple because it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 curlicues on one side. And once you've got each little pattern within the pattern, you're finished then. Exactly. Oh my gosh, what is that? This is actually my Carver. Most all this has been custom built by me. Yeah. This is in order to move all the equipment out of the way, so all I have to deal with is the Carver. All the support equipment stays up above my head. It can track anywhere 3 dimensions in the room with me. And this allows me to concentrate on the art and not worry about all the peripherals that are around me. It reminds me of a car wash. You just take it with you? I guess so. But we have a tank vacuum and everything like that that pulls out all the waste material. Right now with the Carver that we talked about, we're going to pull out this feather design right here. A score cut, real simple. That's one side of the V. Switch hands. This is a score cut. The chalk is gone. That holds the image right there in the carpet. It's not formed, it's not shaped. That's part of the evolutionary technique that we'll do with the carving. This is the first principle of the design. Art's not art until it's finished. One of the little tricks with this is not to cut so much that you can't cut some more. That always gives you room to work, and you can continue to shape.
So do you normally just use like the corner of
Yes.
what is this called?
This is a carver.
It's
literally
just a carver. Okay.
It evolved out of sheep shears, and then it's gone on to other things. And this one's been customized, and I've got the customizations hidden because it's not patented right now. But what it is we were talking about how this tool compares to like leather and other things. Leather workers and woodworkers have an exotic amount of tools that they can choose a chisel or whatever. This is all that I have. This is a project that we're working on right now. This was developed for a car display, and what we did is we presented artwork for him. We just basically got some ideas. His car is the most important thing because he does traveling shows and he wants something.
Can I sit on it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
This is carpet. This is what I was saying. Just because it looks like art doesn't mean it's not livable. But what we did is he has a car and he wants his display at the trade show to stand out more than everybody else's. So we got the idea that if we enhance the display, that makes the people stand around the car longer, the judges see this, and he gains benefit. We couldn't just do carving on this. We needed color, and we needed some other things as well. So this is one of those things where all the little different sciences and stuff that we use as a discipline, whether it's carving, it's color usage, or it's other things, you can bring them together and make something more than what it would be if it was just any one single one. But this was our developmental artwork. We get this out of the way. When we go from the developmental artwork, what we did is we generated a full-scale piece of artwork that was one-to-one that occupied this entire area. And this is still work in progress. This is a one-to-one basis for the car.
Okay.
So what we did with carpet is we were looking at it. This is his car, and this is his car color, and this is a low-resolution art form because nobody's going to be close to this. They're going to stand at a rail here. So we needed to design the scene such that it was, you'd see everything, and no one thing would hold your attention. So it kept people moving around and looking at things. We're going to use acrylic paint to do the stonework. This is just blank. You can see there's carving. Carving kind of defines the structure. Here's a royale, which has got water erosion. This is just a little suggestion of clumps of trees. Here's a rock face. This is a tunnel portal that we're going to get ready to silk screen. Here's a tree. We make little scenes, so this holds your eye. Here's a clump of bushes and a tree. But we wanted to do something on the night sky such that we'd have animation and he could get his extra special award. So I went and looked at a fiber optic projector. What's nice about this is all the light source is removed from the rug so that if he's out on tour and something happens, all he has to do is go right to this projector, change the bulb in there. It's just a regular halogen bulb just like everybody uses. But this is my electronic degree coming up against my art degree coming up against all this.
Oh, and you had to have the lights on the car, what I'm noticing.
Oh, yeah.
That was a have to, yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the other side of this thing.
Okay, this will show the structure of how this is put together. What this actually is a whole bunch of different pieces of carpet, different colors, different manufacturers and all that. We're trying to accomplish color usage, so we have to research and source out everything. This is fiberglass mesh. It's designed to have tremendous tensile strength. The glue here is a thermoplastic. It is not a hot glue. This is a plastic product that does not age or deteriorate. And I've got a seam set up to show you how this is actually put together.
Okay.
This is a pneumatic gun. It is powered by an electrical current. One of the cables is that, and the other is from an air compressor, and it has a fired chamber inside that allows us to run these glue sticks through this load chamber here with extreme speed. If you ever tried to do something like this, mass produce a thermoplastic seam with one of those little small handguns that we do, it'd take forever. That rug there would be a month. This here is just one simple setting, a few hours during the day. This is nothing more than a straight seam. What you were seeing over in the car rug was real exotic shapes and things of that nature. There's a secret, a little trick in order how you get these shapes to be formed in carpet.
You gonna tell me?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, but you're being sworn to secrecy. This is our drawing. This is a piece of paper. Paper itself is a little too soft. it will flex. And if you do that to paper, and especially a small shape,
rip, won't it?
yeah, well, it'll actually stretch and it'll hold the distortion. So we want extreme accuracy when we do cutouts in this. So what I did is I laminated the back of it with masking tape.
Aren't you something?
Yes. Well, that gives it stability. Okay. Now, one of the classic mistakes for anybody working in this industry when they're doing inlayment is to put this directly on the carpet like this and go, I'm going to start drawing.
Oh, there's no way.
No way. You just take masking tape, lay it down on the surface. This is nothing more than paper with a little bit of adhesive on it. This will generate a stable drawing surface. And it's just like drawing on paper. And the best technique for this, even though there's a rough surface under there, don't draw a straight line. Use a sketch technique. You just do a simple sketch, 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 sketch. And the most important thing is when you get tired and you're using a square, that you saw me do this. You don't draw the blade towards your hand. You always want to hold in a lead of where you're doing, and you won't have as much problem. Once again, we're being real careful about how deep the blade penetrates, because if I pitch all the way forward, I'll tip shear. I don't want to pre-bevel anything like this. So it just doesn't make a good mesh. That gives us a real clean line, and it's extremely accurate. When we go in and to set this in the carpet, we'll repeat the tracing process on the field where it goes, and we have that kind of accuracy, because this would be the side that's in the carpet, this would be the inset. The tape actually
holds
the
it,
carpet.
doesn't it?
Right, and then you can handle it and do whatever until you get to the inset process. That gives you stability. Stability and accuracy, and that's one of the neat little tricks that I was taught from my apprenticeship.
Oh, wow. We must be getting serious now.
Yes, we're getting ready to look at something now that's a bit removed from what we've been looking at. All the artwork and stuff that we're doing is actually in my Master Carver degree, and that's 10 years old. And I continue to grow and looking at new avenues for expression. I now have a Master Artisan status in the industry, which includes dealing with exotic carpets, which we're dealing with woven and stuff that's so expensive that it's scary. I don't even think about what I'm doing to the material. What we're getting ready to look at is a staircase. We are going to design this material and this border to function as a staircase runner. And the staircase, we first initially went out when we were looking at the job and doing a bidding. The staircase is a straight flight of steps up. It has a landing, has a straight landing, has another pivotal landing, and then it goes into a huge curved hall. We're going to start at the border, going to run up the stairs, run all the way around, run through the curved hall, all the way back down again. Now, this material is radically different than what we were looking at for inlayment. This is not normal carpet. It is closer to being a fabric and being such that you have to go through some very, very exotic stabilization techniques. Whereas you saw me earlier with conventional tufted carpet, like it's in everybody's home, this material cannot be cut with a knife. These are veterinary surgical shears. They're extremely sharp. And what we'll do is when we're getting ready to, we have a preset distance that we want. This is a stair landing that I'm getting ready to lay out. This is a field. I can't see a clear demarcation in the rows right here that what I want. So what I'll do is, I'll do this, just like taking a comb and parting your hair. I'm going to go right down here. This isn't cutting. All this is doing is just like
making a line.
That's right, parting the Red Seas. It moves the little rows to one side or the other, so that when my shears come through here, they will not clip the edge of the rows, because we want this to be real clean because we're going to fuse a border onto it. It's really important with this material that since it's manufactured in a woven grid fashion, that you stay within these rows. You cannot cross rows like that because it'll break the weave structure. And when you break the weave structure, it will ravel. It will ravel beyond belief. Now I'll show you the seam technique on this that we're talking about that's so exotic. This is a white latex. It is a form of rubber. It's very, very high grade. We use it like a contact cement. So what I do is I'll go down this entire seam.
Using your finger?
Finger paint it. And it actually works better because when I'm doing this, I'm actually applying pressure. It's driving the latex in sideways, whereas if you just run a bottle down like this, it doesn't have force to it. It'll just drop a bead right like that. You do this to either side, just like this. We'll paint this entire side. Then we'll take our border that's going to attach here.
Put it on it also?
Yeah, we'll put it on it also. while these are both still wet, we're going to put these together just like this.
So how fast do you have to do this? Does it dry pretty quickly?
It's very slow, very slow. It's one of these things that we'll fuse it together just like that. That joins this first row and this first row and gives them tensile strength this way. Once it stabilizes and dries, it has got so much strength that it will hold the rug together without anything else. Of course, we do need something else on that. And here, I'll show you this. We'll set this aside. What you're setting on right now is actually a finished border that's ready to be sewn.
Okay. Now sewn, what do you use?
Okay. Let me flip this over and I'll show you.
All right, so you're not using a sewing machine here, Steve.
No. One of the reasons why is a sewing machine doesn't have basically the intelligence behind it to watch what it's doing. There's actually little small squares that you can notice here, and that's part of the weave, and I'm being very, very careful with the needle in order to drive it down between the weave on either side. And I bring it back up again. This is a curved needle, specially designed for this purpose.
Is there a certain type of stitch you're using?
Yes, this is a specialty lock stitch that you sew forward and then you return backwards. And what that does is every return stitch locks every previous stitch. So if you ever pull on this or the stitches are cut, they don't ravel. Now, what we're looking at here is actually just a very, very small section of the stairs. There's like 200 feet of border.
Oh, you're kidding.
Not at all. Seeing this material in its environment, where you can see how a decorator's got in and tied this in with woodwork and fabric usage. And
Oh, I would love to see that.
well, you're more than welcome to come out and see the job site.
Oh, really? That'd be great. Now, Stephen, this is a beautiful room.
Thank you.
And your rug is perfect in it.
Well, that was a lot of planning and a lot of design work behind that.
Well, it adds to everything in the room. Who was the interior designer for this?
It was Charles Faudré.
Oh, wow.
One of the nice things about Charles Faudré is he has a very specific outlook and he is very artistically and creative disciplined. If you go and start looking, this area rug has a belongingness to the room, and that's not accidental. Charles will specifically look at colors and his wall treatments and the drapery work and all that, and even the fabric on the couches. Those are very specific choices that Charles makes, and that's one of the functions of an interior decorator.
There it is.
Yes, this is the staircase. The staircase works on the same principle as like we were talking about on the area rug. The staircase is one of the first things when you come into the entry of the house. It greets, your company or whoever's coming in.
Yeah.
So it has to be open and inviting. One of the things that you can do that'll control the design look is make it flow up the stairs. And there's very distinctive little patterns, like this little blossom cluster here has a top and bottom. And
Right.
the top and bottom is reflected in the way you travel up the stairs. All right, these are the landings that we were talking about. If you notice, when you look at the landing, this has a very, very short travel distance, but this has a tremendous travel distance. It's 5 or 6 times the amount of distance and material. Right. But one of the most important things on the staircase is always balance, 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 balance. It makes everything look like that's the way it was supposed to be and supposed to be intended. We have our roses here,
Okay.
our rose clusters.
Lined up perfectly.
Here it is again. It relined up, even though it's in sync, and it's still maintaining. Here's a large rose group, here's a small one, here's a large one.
Okay, you're going to tell me how'd you do that?
Not going to tell you that. This is one of my little masterpieces that I've come up with. This is an executed curve that's in straight material.
Oh, okay. Now you are going to tell me how you did this, right?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
We have a straight border just like this, and we want to make a curve. So what I did in order to make the curve, you've got to address cosmetics of it. You don't want it to show a whole bunch of pies out, and that's actually how I did it. I first took the outer and inner feature strips and literally used veterinary surgical shears and hand sheared this apart, which separated the border and feature strip work off of it. Then I came in order to make this curve, and I calculated the running distance from this one to this one, and then compared it to the distance that I wanted it to run. And I found out that if you come 5 inches below this, make a wedge that starts at nothing and goes up to a 1/2 inch, take the piece out, and it literally pivots just like that, ever so slightly. Then I go to the next one and do the same thing and repeat that process over and over and over. And what it's doing, instead of making a radical right angle shift, it's very subtle. That's one of the things that curves are. They're a subtle turning of a distance.
Just as the staircase is
Right.
and everything right here. So.
And the fact that I kept from making cross seams in this feature strip area gave it the little cosmetic illusion that there are no seams there. Then I went and wove these back on. These are actually steamed, and it gives a real subtle, smooth curve. One of the nice things about this is we were talking on the landings, and this is a larger example of this principle. We're coming off the staircase here, and we're in sync here. We're in sync, but if you notice, the left-hand side is traveling like 20 feet more distance as we come around the curve, but we fall back in sync again. And it's still, we have a small group, a large group, small group, large group, follows all the way around here. Large, small, large,
So
small,
everything
large,
matches.
small, everything matches.
Well, Stephen, you do incredible work here.
Well, thank you very much. That's part of the reason I do it.
Because you love it, right?
You bet. I get to do it every day of the week.
Well, thank you for being on the program and showing us your many talents.
I do appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Expressions. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week. So can I take a tour of the rest of the house?
Let's go for it.